Good evening. You are live with Jaleesa Brown on 123 Chicago, a very brief YouTube segment of myth busting. Today's survey question is whether or not depressants such as alcohol, aka ethanol, can be absorbed through the skin and cause drunkenness. The reason why I decided to research this topic is because a lot of people are misinformed and tend to get all the wrong ideas about alcohol in general. The survey was sent out through social media, and the question was, can you get drunk by absorbing alcoholic beverages through the skin? 53.85% said yes, and 45.15% said no. With that, I decided to research to see if anybody has ever used this method to get drunk, or has anybody tested this myth? This myth has been tested. I was not allowed to test this myth, but surprisingly, someone else has. I used their results to determine whether or not the topic was a myth or a fact. According to the British Medical Journal, they gave a brief synopsis of the experiment. The objective was to determine the validity of the Danish urban myth that is it possible to get drunk by submerging feet in alcohol. The design was an open-labeled self-experiment study with no control group. The setting was an office of a Danish hospital, and the participants were 3 adults ranging from 31 to 35 in age. They were free of chronic skin and liver disease and no dependent on alcohol and psychoactive drugs. The main outcome measures was the primary endpoint was the concentration of plasma ethanol measured every 30 minutes for 3 hours while their feet were submerged in a washing up bowl containing the contents of 3 700 milliliter bottles of vodka. The secondary outcome was self-assessments of intoxication-related symptoms, for example, self-confidence, urge to speak, and the number of spontaneous hugs scored on a scale of 0 to 10. Results were that the plasma ethanol concentrations were below the detection limit of 2.2 in molar concentration levels. Throughout the experiment, no significant changes were observed in the intoxication-related symptoms, although self-confidence and urge to speak increased slightly at the start of the study, probably due to the setup. The conclusion of their results suggests that the feet are impenetrable to the alcohol component of vodka. They therefore conclude that the Danish urban myth of being able to get drunk by submerging feet in alcohol beverages is just that, a myth. The ethyl alcohol is an open chain compound which is mixed with water. This characteristic is due to the hydroxy group, which forms intermolecular hydrogen bonds to water. The hydroxy group is hydrophilic, which means it attracts water, whereas the ethyl group is hydrophobic, which is water propelling. This means that the molecules are extremely tiny, meaning the molecules of ethanol, which is what is put in alcoholic beverages, are 0.45 nanometers. Yes, nanometers. Nanometers are extremely tiny. So with that, I decided to put that in relation to the skin. The skin, along with hair and nails, is the protective covering of the body. In addition, the skin prevents germs from entering the body, damaging internal organs. Skin supports the life of all other body parts and plays a significant role in maintaining the immune system. Skin is in fact an organ. Without this organ, our body parts would be hanging all over the place. There are 3 very important parts to the skin. We have the epidermis, which is the outer layer of skin, the dermis, which is the middle layer of the skin, and the hypodermis, the innermost and thickest part of the skin. So with that, our myth is in fact a myth. No one can get drunk by absorbing alcohol through the skin. because the molecules in alcohol are way too tiny to penetrate the skin. Thank you so much for your time. This is Jaleesa Brown on 123 Chicago.